There's this discussion over whether or not a Hillary Clinton presidency would be similar to a third President Obama term. Many voters say it basically would be an extension of President Obama's first two terms, his only two terms. And others say, no, it would be a different thing. It might be different in this way or that way. In some way, Trump is running against President Obama. He certainly is slamming President Obama often enough where it's giving me the impression that he thinks the Obama legacy is at least relevant to people deciding between him and Hillary Clinton. So it's really not good news for Donald Trump that President Obama's approval rating is near an all-time high. And it is very clear that President Obama is going to have an active presence in trying to elect his successor. Look at the DNC, right? Donald Trump commenting on the Obama speech, which happened on Wednesday night. Other times, past times, in 2000, for example, Bill Clinton spoke on Monday at the DNC in support of Al Gore. Monday, not exactly a primetime slot. Things are only just getting going. In 2008, George W. Bush, I will remind you, was so unpopular that he didn't speak at all for nominee John McCain, right? They didn't want George W. Bush anywhere near that thing. But President Obama put on the Wednesday night slot, and it makes sense because President Obama's approval rating is now 54%. That might not sound high, but when you consider the extreme inherent polarization of the American electorate, 54% is actually quite good. Highest approval rating since just after his reelection in 2012. And President Obama is going to actually be an asset to Hillary Clinton during the campaign. Drastically different situation than what John McCain had in 2008 with George W. Bush, and also quite different from what Al Gore had in the year 2000 from Bill Clinton. This is not good for Donald Trump at all. And there's sort of two ideas as to why President Obama's approval rating is as high as it is. One is, well, he's just done so many good things. And in spite of, as actual progressives, having a number of critiques of President Obama, it sort of makes sense that his approval would be pretty high. That's one possible analysis. There's another one, though, which is the Republican Party has been such a bizarre freak show, and Donald Trump is such a disaster that it's making people say, wait a second, President Obama is really not that bad when we think about the rhetoric of Donald Trump. And I think there is really something to that. And I would go even further than that, Lewis. When Donald Trump makes these apocalyptic, fear-mongering declarations about how terrible everything is, some people, right? Some people are influenced by it. But some people hear that and they say, you know what? Things aren't actually that bad right now. And I think it actually is making them realize that things under President Obama haven't been so bad. So I believe this is bad for Trump, but I also believe it is the product of Trump in many ways.
Yeah, the Obama bashing was much more effective during the last presidential election and during the midterms. I don't see what good it's doing here. It just doesn't seem like that effective a strategy, and it's certainly not making up for all the other dumb stuff he says and does, because the poll numbers are showing us what's really happening.
And there's a last element I want to mention. We're almost 8 years into President Obama's presidency, meaning it's almost over. He still hasn't canceled the Constitution. He hasn't started burning American flags. He still hasn't installed the Muslim theocracy. He hasn't put people in FEMA camps so they would be, et cetera, or taken everybody's guns, et cetera. So maybe there is a growing group of voters who say, you know, we've been hearing all this garbage about what Obama was going to do for 8 years. None of it has happened. Maybe we should be skeptical of the story that Donald Trump is telling us about everything Obama's done and everything Hillary will do, because a lot of it seems to not actually be happening under President Obama. Just some thoughts about why this is happening and why it's not good for Donald Trump.